Alex, thanks for giving me the opportunity. Look, this is a full-out hit job. We have a piece orchestrated in the Smoking Gun that alleges that I have colluded specifically with a hacker called Guccifer 2.0. There are, I guess, allegations that he is indeed a Russian agent, and perhaps he is. What they miss is that I myself identified Guccifer 2.0 in a piece that I have written for Breitbart on August 5th, pointing out that it is my belief that it was Guccifer who actually hacked the original DNC documents, at least that portion that were hacked, because I believe others were handed off to, as by a disgruntled employee to Craig Murray, a British diplomat who has come forward to say that. But I identified Cruiser for the American public. And then 10 days later, we had a brief exchange in the direct message section of Twitter, largely because I had commented on a Twitter decision to ban him. And miraculously, glad to say, he had been suspended and he was put back into service. He was reinstated. This is an innocuous, banal conversation, largely because on Twitter, one does not know if the person they're speaking to is indeed the real Guccifer.
So all they've got is a Twitter chat with someone they can't even prove is a Russian agent.
But to have collusion, Alex, I would have to have a time machine, and Putin has not yet perfected one. In other words, my communication with this alleged Russian agent happens after WikiLeaks has already leaked the DNC documents, and after I, in my journalistic hat, have identified him as a leaker. This now becomes the following headline. FBI has truth of Trump discussions with the Russian agent. GQ, Raw Story, sadly, the Washington Times. It's a lynch mob, really, of disinformation. All these kind of mainstream media outlets and other kind of lefty recycle shops are posting this ad nauseum. So let the people be very clear. The FBI clearly probably has this information, either because they were monitoring Mr. Guccifer 2.0 or because they were monitoring me due to the secret FISA court warrant in which the government sought, and I believe got permission to surveil Donald J. Trump and Roger Stone, as well as Paul Manafort, perhaps others. This is the biggest scandal since Watergate because they are really putting the pedal to the metal, since the rationale for that surveillance, Alex, has been blown apart. There is no Russian link, and this certainly is not one. So the smoking gun isn't even hot, and it's not very smoking. And I'm releasing now exclusively here on InfoWars the entire correspondence from this gentleman and I. While I may look a little bit pompous, the government looks foolish. And you can't collude with someone on an event after the fact.
Sure, so all they've got is you as a journalist talking to somebody who's not even a proven Russian agent about this, but we have them all over the New York Times on the 20th. We have you talking about it on the 20th, saying they have these wiretaps. Then they say Trump's insane. There's no wiretaps. I mean, this is crazy.
No, look, I think you were pointed out on this show back at the election when the folks around David Brock described me as a MVP in the revolution to elect Donald Trump.
That was their internal stuff that spies were able to get.
This is something I wear very proudly, but Alex, the attempt to go after me, to go after my family, with a tissue of lies, proves that these globalist swine will never stop. They are never going to recognize the democratic election of Donald Trump. What we have here is a slow motion coup. They have to be, like when one has cancer, cut out.
No, I agree. Like Jesse James, a smart guy, he's here. He thinks, hey, we've won. You know, let's be confident. I agree that we've won the hearts and minds and the great economic numbers. Clearly, I guess the Russians are making America great again. No, it's Donald Trump, the American people. But they are not going to stop. Are they ineffectual, though? What do we do?
Well, first of all, I want to reiterate this because I like getting it on the record. I had never had any Russian contacts. I never heard from anyone or communicated from anyone with the Russian state, Russian intelligence, or anyone fronting for them or representing them. I don't like Russian dressing on my salad. And now I must tell you, sadly, I have stopped drinking Russian vodka because of what they might say. This whole thing is a canard, a falsehood to smear the president of the United States.
And you've never been into Russian women, because if you like Russian women, that's evil too.
Well, I didn't mention that in my list. I can appreciate Russian women, but I don't have a Russian girlfriend. Mrs. Stone would obviously not approve. So,
I mean, listen, we joke about this, but they've called me a Russian agent too, which is just unbelievable. And they're just going, Maxine Waters, who thinks Russia invaded Korea a few weeks ago, she says, oh, PP Gate's real. You know, they've got evidence of the sex with no proof. Like you said months ago, these so-called wiretaps, there's nothing there. They admit there's nothing there. The House Intelligence Committee admits it. They're just still going ahead with all of this crap in the face of the best 50-day start of any president in history.
Well, Alex, what's even more galling about the entire situation is this constant harangue against the president when they try to cover this up. Here's what must happen. We need an action plan. And therefore, I would be happy to testify for a government grand jury. I would urge the Attorney General, since he's recused himself, he should arrange for a special prosecutor. Let someone else pick the prosecutor. Let's get Mr. Brennan and Mr. Clapper and Ash Carter and all of these folks, and maybe the people at Smoking Gun, because they seem to be in receipt of hacked material. Very clearly, the fact that I had any communications with Guccifer 2 is known probably because of the FISA hack.
Wait a minute. Didn't you talk about Guccifer on my show before?
Yes, I did. We talked about it at the time. So this whole thing it's a setup.
We've talked to Guccifer, but I told people, make sure that's real the Guccifer, you know.
Well, look, The Hill has talked to Guccifer. I think Politico has talked to Guccifer. Are they also?
I mean, we know Hillary's talked to Lucifer.
Well, are they also collaborators? So it is, you know, I'm just not taking it. I'm going to punch back.
I agree, but let's shift gears for some fun relief. Let me see that photo of you with Speedos there. It's off camera, but I can see it. Let's see that photo with you and the lovely blonde in the Speedos. Can we?
This, of course, would be me and the world-famous Nina Hartley, a very close pal of mine.
Oh, in the camera, let's...
a little glare.
For those that don't know, tell people who Nina Hartley is.
Nina Hartley was one of the great, I'm not going to say is one of the great porn stars of the 70s and 80s. She was known for having...
And you were at a Bible study at that?
I met her at a gathering of free-minded individuals in California sometime in the 70s, and we became very good friends.
That was all under Russian command, though, right?
Well, when my wife and I were married in Washington, D.C., you had Governor Tom Kean, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, and Nina Hartley all at the same table, and the justice seemed to know who she was.
Oh, wow. But that was all Russian, though. Everybody went there because the Russians were in charge of everything.
You know, that is the irony of this, as you have pointed out, Alex. My politics comes from anti-communism.
Let's skip the break. This is too important. Keep going.
When the Russians approached me, which was a very odd thing, in the 80s when I was on the Reagan transition team, I got a handwritten letter put under the windshield of my car that said something like, Comrade Stone, you appear to be the smartest of those around Trump and a man who appreciates the finer things in life. We can help each other. Could we please?
You meant Reagan, not Trump.
Reagan, pardon, Reagan, yes. And he included his card. He was an attaché in the embassy, the Russian embassy on 16th Street. And I took that card immediately to the FBI, and I gave it to them. I gave him the letter, which they dusted, and they said, yeah, this guy's been trying to recruit people. We suggest no response, but if you hear from him again, let us know. Because I didn't respond, I never heard from him again. Do I sound like someone who would go to work for the Russians? I abhor totalitarianism. I think their system is a rotten, corrupt system. It's no different than communism. They suppress gays and Christians and Jews and women. So no, we're not in bed with Putin, but we are for the United States of America. Well,
that's right. So let's talk seriously about this. I want to believe, Jesse James, that we're absolutely dominating, winning. I know the numbers show that. My God, this economy is just insane compared to what it was. They're still trying to kill it. The jobless numbers are going down. The biggest numbers in small business startups, stock market, $3 trillion. DrudgeReport.com has it all posted right now. We probably put a link up there, show for TV viewers. InfoWars has a lot of it too. But they're just like running around like rats everywhere, flipping out, threatening everybody. Everybody's a Russian. They're on the news with no proof, saying that all this crazy stuff. I mean, I'm not looking for attacking them, but it's the law. They're saying kill the president. They're doing all this crap. I mean, what do we do? Or is Trump just transcending them?
I think he transcends them by staying completely focused on his agenda. And frankly, I think he has to focus on beginning to repel the impact of some of the quislings inside his own administration. I mean, in all honesty, my hat is off to the president that he's been so good on virtually every policy issue, despite the growing number of establishment Republicans and others who are not loyal to Trump or the Trump agenda that he has in his administration. I've not been shy about talking about this. I talk about it out of loyalty for and support for the president, not as a critic.
Well, sure. Let's talk Turkey then, since you raised that, Roger Stone. We have Paul Ryan replaces Obamacare insurance penalties with even larger penalties and then just laughs about it when we have the votes for a total repeal. We have appointees in White House push to keep U.S. in global climate treaty. That's just a giant turn our jobs off thing. We've got all this going on, all this happening. I know Trump's not behind that, but yeah, I mean, who are the quislings? Who are the problems? What do you think Trump should do to Twinkle Toes over there, Mr. Blue Eyes, Mr. Paul Ryan?
Well, first of all, the good news, Alex, is that Donald Trump is the ultimate negotiator. So this bill, this health care bill, is
and he said that in a tweet. He said, let the negotiations begin, and then told Rand Paul he likes his plan.
Yeah, I mean, look, he wants to get something done. He's not married to this plan, and this plan obviously has some flaws. They could be flaws the president was not fully aware of. This looks to me like a collaboration, many cooks. And I think it is not the free market-based plan that we need. But that doesn't mean that Trump won't get to that plan. He's a tough taskmaster. But this is the first example where you can see that some who are not loyal to the agenda have let their ideas creep into the action plan. And that is problematic. I'm going to be able to talk more about this tomorrow, but Steve Mnuchin, who was the Trump campaign finance chairman, the treasurer of the secretary, is at an impasse with the White House political shop over the people he wants to bring to staff the government, who are virtually to a man and woman liberal Democrats. In some cases, I'm going to identify a very key person, the number 2 person he'd like to put in this department, who gave money to Hillary Clinton and was an active.
So what the hell is going on here? See, my gut tells me we got to protect Trump. He's proven he's good. That makes him more precious. But my gut tells me danger, Will Robinson. My spidey sense is on. I mean, if I was like Frodo with Sting, the sword that glows when goblins are close, this thing's on fire. I can't help it.
Well, but I think if you posed this question to the president several months ago and said, Mr. President, during the campaign, you were a critic of Goldman Sachs. You pointed out how they had given $1 million secret loan to Ted Cruz. You excoriated Hillary for the fact that they gave her $765,000 for a secret speech that she would not release the transcript of. But now you have these guys from Goldman Sachs in your administration. He would say, they're very smart guys. They work for me, and the agenda will be my agenda, not their agenda. Well, you know what? As long as that is true, the president's entitled to have the men and women that.
But the leaks go on, the attacks. He hadn't got control of these agencies. I think if that's the case, I think he's wrong on that.
Well, but he wouldn't be wrong if we didn't see problems. But we already see the beginnings.
Exactly. No, it's not.
The watering down of the health care plan, the constant leaks show an elementary lesson of politics.
They're so arrogant. They're in the news trying to push carbon taxes.
Well, now this again, carbon taxes has to do with Gary Cohn. Gary Cohn, the president's chief economic advisor, knows that the boys at Goldman are essentially the receiver here. They clean up in a carbon tax. He was pushing
They've
it.
invested billions in it.
He should be recusing himself from all of these discussions regarding the carbon tax. But this is what happens when you have a liberal Democrat who aspires to be chief of staff, I might add, as your chief economic advisor. This guy,
that's the next thing. I'm going to give you 5 minutes if you can do it before we go to the next host. The word is, like you said months ago to me, probably Priebus, the knives are out. Who would they be moving in? And I hear this Democrat would be who they brought in.
I have not heard.
Well, I mean, you were talking about the guy they're trying to get as the chief of staff. Here's the paradox. Trump's doing so good. I love him. But suddenly I see all this bad stuff being lined up.
Well, here's what you don't know. If you went from Reince Priebus to Gary Cohn as chief of staff, you'd be jumping from the frying pan into the fire.
Got it.
So that should be avoided. Priebus, I think, continues to make a series of errors. I don't think.
Who would you put in there as the chief of staff?
Well, if I named the person I wanted, that would probably get the long knives out from some of our enemies and doom their chances. So I'm not going to play my cards on national.
No, I got it.
Wars. But there are many fine, quality men and women. Ed Martin's been on this program. Ed Martin was the chairman of the Missouri Republican Party. He was the Republican candidate for Attorney General. He was counsel to Pope John Paul. He was counsel to the St. Louis Archdiocese. He was the chairman of the St. Louis Elections Board. He narrowly lost the Attorney General.
Sure, the Tea Party loves him. Stay there. I mean, let's come back, though, and talk about where Trump is on Friday, the 10th day of March, 2017, because results, everything's happening. But then who he's got around him is as scary as hell. Stay with us, folks. Infowars.com. All right, we got Leanne and Owen Schroyer coming in to take over in the 4th hour. Roger Stone thinks it's a 3-minute break, so he's gone from the camera. He'll be back in a minute. I would love to be in the opposition position here and just be able to bitch about Trump all day. I study the politics. I know what's going on. I've never seen in modern times, of hell, not since George Washington or Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson's the last time I've seen anything like this. Andrew Jackson. Of course, the president models himself after Jackson. What does that tell you? People that haven't studied the history, I'm just speaking Chinese or Greek or space alien to you, but it's outrageous that the American people who are against Trump don't know how he's doing things the elites don't want to empower you. That's why they're so pissed. It's 101. And then all this stupid Russian crap all day. It's ridiculous. So, Roger, just in closing, where would you say the American Revolution, the Second American Revolution is right now? Populism's exploding globally. We are winning on so many fronts. I can't believe being informed, watching these anti-Trump people physically assault everybody all over the country. I don't know what to even do at this point, because I just have this feeling that if we don't do something, we're going to lose. Everybody just says, sit down and relax, Alex, we're winning. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I can just take a vacation. What do you think?
No, I don't think that at all. I think, as Donald Trump said after the election, our fight has just begun. The entrenched and corrupt influences that have been running this country for 30 years are not just going to walk away from the sweetest.
Oh, they think they own us. It's the entitlement that makes me angry.
Well, and the fact that while they have promulgated policies that make the people poorer and less safe, they and their cronies have gotten fabulously wealthy. There's my central objection to this whole particular situation. Now, Alex, think about it. They said that Andrew Jackson was crude, vulgar, ignorant, poorly informed. They said that Theodore Roosevelt was an egomaniac, a lightweight, a self-promoter. Do these things sound familiar?
Yes.
You cannot judge this president.
This is what they say about mavericks that expand the United States and empower the people.
Yeah, so you have a free thinker in Trump who isn't connected in any way to the bad decisions of the last 30 years that have driven the country into the ditch. But at the same time, we know that those who control the country and the neocons, they will break the law, they will murder, they will steal, they will wiretap, they will eavesdrop, they will threaten people, they will do anything to protect what has been a very...
Exactly, and I want to physically but also politically stomp them in the ground, so what do we do?
Well, I do think that the counterpoint of these demonstrations has to be shown across the country. I think it is important that Trump supporters and Americans who support this agenda rally across the country.
Yeah, we're in the butt of our lives. Absolutely. But I agree with Jesse James. We should celebrate the victory as well. I mean, look at the delivery on jobs, man. Isn't that something to talk about?
Well, I think that's true, but good news gets drowned out. I think they've taken to the streets. We must go to the streets. Let's show them that we outnumber them as we did in this election.
I agree. Jesse said it. Next person punches me in the nose, I'm going to hit him right back.
Well, I was talking to Chris Ruddy at Newsmax and my friend John Tobacco about this. I think we need a series of rallies: South Carolina, Dallas, Texas, San Diego, across the country.
Austin's big too, by the way. That's a good-looking hat. Where's that from?
This hat is probably older than your oldest child, Alex. I guarantee you that.
I gotta say, it's so.
This was my father's. This was my father's Panama. As I think I told you, when he passed away, my mother sent all of his hats to me, and to my surprise, we had an identical hat size. So
what's crazy is they don't make hats like that anymore. That thing has just got like an aura to it.
Yeah, well, this was all handmade by some poor person who was not in Panama, but in Ecuador, because Panama Hats was kind of a brand name, but the finest hats were made in Ecuador. And you can crush this hat and throw it in the bag, and it will spring back to its shape.
All right. Well, thanks for the exclusives. Just unbelievable. Roger Stone, StoneColdTruth.com. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much, my friend.
Great to be here, Alex.